I'm Allie. I came out after 20 years of marriage and I have 3 kids.
I'm Melissa and I have 2 kids and I came out at 37 after an 11-year marriage.
This podcast is about coming out later and the struggles and victories that come with it.
When coming out feels like the end of the world, but it's really just the beginning.
This is the Lesbian Chronicles.
Welcome to the Lesbian Chronicles.
Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, even though it's virtually.
It is virtually once again.
I don't know. My weeks have been crazy. I don't know about you, but I feel like of June, my daughter Kaylin, she's been doing swim team, and it's like ruled my life.
I know. Why do people
weeks.
do that? It's like every day you're sitting out there, like
every day.
What is that
and
about?
It's like it's mid-morning. I can't work out.
No,
like it's and that makes me crazy.
Right.
Like, so yeah, I'm ready for June. Well, I guess now swim team is over. Thank goodness.
But I don't understand.
She loves it. And I love that part, but it's so fucking time consuming.
Yeah, it is. And I have friends that did it in my old neighborhood. And I would see them all out there sitting so early. And I'm like, why did anyone sign up for this? But I guess people could say the same about us with traveling for soccer. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I think any sport can take over your kids' lives,
Right.
and luckily the swim season is pretty short. I mean, it's literally just the month of June. We missed the first week, so I can't complain too much, but
yeah, it is what it is.
Instead of a soccer mom right now, I'm a swim team mom. So
I know. Well, I've been a soccer mom for a long time and I continue to be, but I literally have said to my kids, if no one's going to the Olympics, why are we getting up at 8 a.m.?
Why are we doing this?
Why are we in Florida at a tournament? Like, I don't understand, but I just keep doing it.
Seriously.
I just keep doing it.
Is Tatum going to play in college at all?
No. And she doesn't even, by the end of her high school career with it, she played varsity all 4 years. She literally is like, I don't even like soccer. Like, what am I doing?
You're like, what am I doing?
I know, that's what I said. She's like, it's such a social construct. She's like, well, we're going to kick the ball around. And she's like, it's so weird and random. I don't even like it. I don't know why I'm doing this. But I think by the end, she's like, you can't quit. These are your people.
Well, and Kaylin still plays soccer. Well, they both do. And I really feel like Kaylin more so just likes the social aspect.
Yeah.
But she did, I will say, she kind of found her aggression finally.
Yeah, good.
And it was like, whoa, I love this. Because before she was like, another kid would come up and just take the ball and she'd be like, okay, see you later.
Take it.
Walk away.
Right.
But now it's she started fighting back and I'm like, okay, this makes me want to keep doing soccer.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, group sports, girls sports, I love it. I love it for all my kids. Whatever they pick. But our little one too, Reed, he plays soccer. He absolutely loves it. Those are his friends. So I'm a huge fan. I complain a lot, but I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
So I keep showing it. Maria though is Maria goes too. So she's just I can't believe my entire weekend is soccer. She's like, I've never heard of this. This is so ridiculous.
That's yesterday. They had a swim championship, and literally Kaylin had to be there at 7 a.m. And Marina was the one that took her.
Oh,
she was like, "I'm the morning person. Why are you going to take her? I'll take her." Thank God too, because I was dreading it. But also, she's like, "What is my life now? That I'm literally on a Saturday morning. This is what I'm doing."
I know.
And it's welcome to having children in your life.
I know exactly. So. That's what it is. I know. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I was so thankful that our middle Owen doesn't play he's theater acting, so he doesn't do the sports, and I'm a little part of me is thank you, Jesus. Reed the other day was acting like he wanted to play baseball. I shut that right down. I'm like,
well, it's funny. You guys, you have a 4-kid household, and that's what I grew up in, and very much that's why I wasn't allowed to do more than one sport.
Yeah.
My mom was just I don't have time. Now, my siblings, none of them really played sports, but even so, it was I got to do the one thing that I wanted to do. And that was that.
Yeah. For me, baseball, I know we're going to catch such hell for this, but the games are way too long. They're way too boring. Like I go to my nephews, I'm like, I literally can't sit through this. So to my little one, I'm like, anything else. You can do anything else. Just please don't let it be baseball.
Oh my God. I love baseball. Now
Do
I grew up
you?
watching baseball though.
Okay.
So like the Braves were in their prime in like the 90s when I was a kid and I was
Okay.
just so into it. And then I
Yeah.
played softball. So
Of course you
speaking
did.
of the Braves, of course I did.
Yeah.
We went to the Braves Pride Night the other night, which was really fun and cool. And I brought the kids and like they were like super excited to take part. And like literally they found markers in the back of my car, like as we're driving up there. I think I'd thrown them back there when we went to Florida, like for them to color or whatever. And they drew rainbows like all over
Oh,
themselves.
I
Like
love
Brecken wrote
that.
pride on his
Yeah.
leg.
It's so
Like they were
cool.
so into it.
Yeah.
So
I love that. And
it
it's good
was,
for them to see that it's normalized. Like if the Braves like it can't be a bad thing.
but do the Braves like it?
I know.
Because
That's
they
what I was
sure as shit
wondering. I
didn't.
know.
They didn't post a fucking thing on Facebook. Like not a peep. Like they have on their events page, like they nothing about Pride. Like you'd have to like go search Braves Pride Night in order to find it.
Oh, that makes me sad.
It does, and I think the reason why they aren't posting is because the past times that they did, people are literally doing the thing like, oh, I can't believe this. I'm never watching the Braves again. Like all this bullshit.
I wonder if
And
they
I
did a
think
breakdown, like how many of their fans, what is the real breakdown?
like how many of their fans are
Yeah,
gay.
like, I mean, I guess it was just like, I mean, it kind of brings us to our next topic, but it's like the Roe versus Wade thing. More Americans support abortion than
Right.
don't, and yet here we are. So it's like, I wonder with the Braves if it's a 50-50 split or if it's, I mean, I know they have a lot of fans out in the sticks.
Yeah, but also it's like when someone's saying that, like, oh, I'm never watching the Braves again, all because you're having a Pride night. Like,
Yeah,
are
you
you
don't,
really never watching the
I
Braves
know. Come
again?
on, come on.
Like, get over yourself.
Yeah, it's
But
true.
yeah, it is very interesting, this week what we saw happen with Roe v. Wade, which I'm just dumbfounded by. Like, it's one of those things where I heard it was like possible, but I just it's like my brain was like, that's not going to be a thing. Like, how can they
Right.
overturn something that's been around since the 70s?
Yeah, it's
So when
true.
it came in, I was like, I baffled,
Right.
like,
I was having a debate once with one of my family members, and she was just like kind of saying, nobody cares about gay marriage. Like, get over it. No one cares. Get married. We don't care anymore. Like, no one cares. She's a Republican, and she's like, no one cares anymore. It's not like they're going to overturn that. And she's like, it's not like they're going to overturn Roe versus Wade. She's like, get it. These are law. And I thought, I can't wait to tell her, like, do you remember us talking about that? And you said this
yeah,
would never happen, and here we are.
yeah.
Like, it just shows how much power.
It's insane to me. Like
Yeah.
it truly is. And just like, the changes that have happened over the past few years
Right.
where we've just taken a zillion steps backwards and how scary it is. Cause yeah, like now Clarence Thomas is talking about, next up is same-sex marriage.
The only thing I hope is that maybe this will galvanize Democrats to, really show up. And these kinds of things, I don't know, they strengthen our base a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only thing that I can hope is the good that comes out of it is that
Exactly.
we
And it's like,
galvanize.
vote, please vote, like
Yeah,
at every level possible,
right. It's far too
because right
important.
now it's fucking terrifying.
But look at all these great companies that are coming out of the woodwork, offering to pay for the travel of people needing abortions as part of their health care. I think that's putting your money where your mouth is. It's also very risky for a lot of these companies who have conservative customers
Right.
who, may boycott or to me, it's like I'm always impressed when people are willing to do that. They don't have to do that. They could just stay quiet. It's not their business, or, we don't want to upset anyone. We don't want to polarize. But they, a lot of companies have come forward, even like JP Morgan, which I would have never thought that, why would they care?
Yeah.
And they've said
Yeah.
it. So it's like there are, I think, I don't know, that's telling to me.
Absolutely. And it's promising.
Yeah, it's very promising.
But then at the same time, it's like, okay, first of all, getting an abortion is expensive.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you got to add the expense of like, how in the fuck do you get to a state that's going to allow it? Because there's already states that have I didn't even know that this was a thing, but there's these trigger laws. So when Roe v. Wade was pulled, all these trigger laws went into effect. So there's several states where it's like already like,
totally
it's not like you have a waiting period.
No.
Like if you have an abortion scheduled, you're fine. Like, I mean, it's like the rug got pulled out from underneath people.
Totally. But if these companies are willing to pay for your travel, and I did read that it's like it definitely affects people who maybe don't have the means more than people that do in some ways. You know, maybe they didn't have contraceptive to begin with. So yeah, I mean, it's hurting.
Or they live in the poor Bible Belt or wherever, and like they're not educated on contraceptives and safe sex, you know?
Totally.
Like so many places, so many schools now are feeling like that's not like their place to teach that. And it's like, oh, abstinence only? Okay.
Yeah, come on. I just can't anymore. It's so ridiculous. And do you
really
want
is.
that? It's like once I had a daughter, it's like, would I even want that for her? It's like, I don't even want that for her. I want her to have this rich sexual future. I truly do. I don't know if I'm like a weirdo, but like, I don't want her to be this like proper girl waiting for this guy to like please her in some way. Like that to me is like so sick. Like I hope my children end up like, you know, learning and sleeping with people to know what they even like. Like, I don't know. Like I think it's all very disturbing, honestly.
Well, and like, you know, of course you're saying like, do this in a safe way. And like, that's just it. There's safe ways to do it and to have contraceptives and all that stuff.
Yeah. But if you can't
get tested for STDs, but you know, I think we have lived in a world where sex was so shamed and not spoken about. I mean, that's kind of like, that's how we landed here, you know, like
totally. That's so true.
For sure.
Right.
Like I was told not to talk about sex, like don't ask questions. Like my mom barely spoke to me about anything with like, even when I was getting close to like starting my period, she just she wrote me a little letter that she put in my bedroom and gave me a pamphlet that was legit. I found it recently. It was like published in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
And that was that, you know, like there was no conversation.
And in fact, mine didn't even do that. And the sentiment was girls are sluts, boys are being boys. Boys are going to be boys. I mean, I remember even my dad being like to my sister and I, you can't dress like that because boys literally can't help themselves. They can't, boys will be boys. It's such fucking bullshit. When I look back, I'm like, I can't, and they didn't know better. They were doing the best they could, but it's like, I just think like it's so sick. I don't, I can't, it angers me to such an extent that I can't. And why are the boys, they don't have any responsibility. These girls now are stuck with this pregnancy. Right. And the boys go off into the sunset.
Absolutely. So, which is why we should have like now, mandatory DNA samples for every American so that we can figure out who impregnated these women and they can like pay financially, you know, and be responsible.
But the boys don't have any money anyway. So the girls are getting shit.
It's like, you know, the moment that was placed on the table, men would lose their shit.
They would, but there wouldn't be anything there. I mean, it's like you can't, what do they say? Squeeze from a turnip. I mean, there's so it's also like, go after them, but I agree with that 100%, but I don't know that there's any money there.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and I mean, you know, it's like we know that's not going to happen, but that's like the best comparison I can think of is like we are taking away a woman's right to choose. Like, why do you get the choice on like whether or not you're responsible
you are totally
in this situation?
Totally, they should be, and if not, like they also should be. The women need the funding to go after them, garnish their wages, do whatever you have to do. I agree wholeheartedly. I wonder if we will start to see a sea of lawsuits regarding that. I mean, the problem is a lot of these women aren't going to have the money to pursue it.
But you know what is scary though, too, the fact that these women who can't get abortions and are with men that are violent, abusive, whatever, they're going to wind up dead. Like that's going to be the man's solution is to kill them.
Right.
You know, and that's the terrifying part. Like that already happens as it is. Yeah. You know, when man and woman are in disagreement as to whether or not to keep a child, you know, like that's how women are murdered all the time.
Oh, I didn't even know that. So, I mean, that's like the worst case.
Right. It's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
On a more positive note, went to see Lightyear yesterday with my kids.
I saw
which
it.
was
I already haven't seen the movie, but I saw all the marketing for it.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like a weird concept. So it's based on Buzz Lightyear and Toy Story. It's like the prequel. So the movie that like the kids saw and got the toy from.
Okay.
In Toy Story.
Yeah.
And it was actually like a really cute movie. It was funny, but the biggest controversy, I guess you could say, or we could also say leap forward, is that Disney has a same-sex couple in the movie. And it's very low key.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the female character, one of the Space Rangers, is talking about she met someone, and Buzz is like, oh, I can't wait to meet her.
Okay, like it's just like a non-event.
Nothing. And she's like, oh yeah, she's wonderful. I can't wait for you to meet her. And then like as time goes on, like it kind of shows them as a couple, like here and there, and like they have a child and all this stuff. And then there's like the most brief kiss on the planet. And like Marina didn't even notice it. She's like, I've been waiting this whole movie to see this kiss.
And it never happened. You're like, wait, what?
I was like, it's at the beginning. And it was like literally like on the way home, we were telling the kids about like how meaningful that was. I mean, it literally like started to make me kind of tear up because I started thinking like, what if I had seen this when I was a kid?
Right.
Like here's a positive representation of a lesbian couple. They're happy, they're healthy, and they have children.
Right. It's like, what would your inner child feel in that? Yeah. Like looking back. Yeah.
Yeah. And my
that.
kids were like, wait, what? Like that's never been in a movie before, like and not in a Disney movie. Like they couldn't wrap their little brains around why that had not already happened.
Yeah, that's why these kids are going to save the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, this generation, it is a complete non-event.
So it's like, I know a lot of people we hear from, they're like, oh, I'm so scared to tell my kids, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, your kids are fine. Yeah. They are fine.
Right. It's so true. I always wonder, like, why politicians, like, if you look at like brands, big brands, they always market that their demographic is young people because they know these people are going to grow into customers down the road.
Right.
And it's like, I always wonder about the GOP and their PR strategy because their entire marketing platform is for old white men. Like pretty much, like even like my mother is coming around, even like, my people in their 60s don't agree with this bullshit. So it's like I sometimes wonder, like it's like they almost like they need a whole PR overhaul because these kids are coming up. My kids, your kids, they see the world so differently. Like to your point, your kids were like, wait, what? That hasn't been in a movie? Like it doesn't even occur to them.
Right.
So it's just like, then what does the GOP do?
Yeah. I mean, well, that's just it. They're scared right now of movies like Lightyear and the fact that, there's drag queen happy hour. Like they're flipping out about it and calling it grooming because it's taking away from their agenda.
Yeah, totally.
And it's taking away from their base. Right. And that's, I think, ultimately what they're scared of.
Right. And it's like, what was that thing I think you might have even sent me about? It's like, you're all about right to life, but then don't give a shit about mass shootings.
Right.
Like, it's just so backwards. I don't see how there isn't some Republican with a fucking backbone that's not standing up to this. Yeah,
it just blows my mind. It's the agenda is obvious. And it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. But I think, like I said, I hope that it galvanizes and gets people upset enough to show up and vote because that's what's going to change things.
Absolutely.
Have you been watching the coverage of the January 6th stuff? Because I feel like that's been interesting too, because it's like I thought I knew everything and I didn't. So it's like watching some of these like depositions and people getting up. It's like, wow, I had no idea. And I wonder too if that will sway some morons who really thought that the election was stolen, if they're going to be watching this and being like, shit, I'm so embarrassed.
But certain networks are not airing it at all.
Oh, well.
They're ignoring the story entirely and just not talking about it. So
it's like the social dilemma. It's like if you have people that don't, it truly is. It's like if you're not watching everything, then I guess you just miss it and you get deeper into your hole.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm sure people could say the same thing about me.
If you've seen the movie Idiocracy, that's what it feels like, you
Yeah.
know.
But,
Um,
but I will say, like, I just to be the other side, like I'm not a radical liberal. I'm just not. I'm somewhere
right.
in the middle. I'm probably just left of center, to be honest. But I noticed like Nancy Pelosi. I wonder if you've heard of this because you're in the news. So I'm reading the New York Times as I do every Sunday in bed, cover to cover. Nancy Pelosi's husband was in a car accident in Napa where he was under the
DUI. Yeah.
influence. No, but I hadn't heard this at all. I listen to news all day. I listen to podcasts all day. I'm on CNN. I am a news junkie. I heard
Yeah.
nothing of this. And it's buried in the New York Times. Like, it's not front and center. Like, to me, that's news.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so,
it was on
not because,
CNN.com's homepage.
but not because, well, it was like a minor compared to everything else going on. And not that it is news, but it is like interesting. Like, that to me is like,
It's a thing that happened for
it's a
sure.
thing that happened. It paints her in a bad way to me because she's fighting for justice for these people that don't have a lot. Meanwhile, they're in Napa hobnobbing with really wealthy people at a party. Like, to me, he's driving home under the influence. Like, it's shitty. And
It is shitty, absolutely. But I mean, it's the same thing. Like Ted Cruz ran off to
totally,
Cabo.
but Ted Cruz's was all over. I knew Ted Cruz. That's all we talked about.
Yeah.
Nobody talked about Pelosi.
But also, that was Pelosi's husband, not Pelosi.
True, but had this been, let's say, we could even say like on a different, I mean, this would be very high profile, but even like one of the Trump kids, I feel like it would have been front page news. Like, I feel like they do in some ways right now, and maybe the New York Times is guilty of this. I love the New York Times, so I'll never say anything bad about them. But I guess it goes both ways in that that story was completely buried for me.
And I guess too, it's like I don't watch Fox News and I don't watch
either.
Like Newsmax. They could have had it blasted all over the place. I know that where I read it was on CNN.com.
Okay.
So
I never saw it. And so it's like, I guess it goes both ways. My point is
I guess that's just it too. Like, you can't sit here and think that any news organization does not have some level of bias. There you go.
Yes.
They all do.
Yeah.
You know, which is why I think it's important to get your news from multiple places.
Right. Which I thought
and understand
and I still have
that some news organizations are backed by very conservative bases.
Right.
And they have certain agendas in mind. Also, some of those quote news organizations do not have journalistic integrity.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not focused on getting out the truth. They're focused on like bringing in the viewers and convincing people to keep watching them.
Right. Well,
and sensationalizing, you know. I mean, we can sit here and be like, yeah, the National Enquirer is a news source, but it also is has fictional stories in it, just like you would see sensationalized, stories. So the way that news would tell the story about Pelosi and the way that CNN would tell the story and the way that NPR or ABC News, you're going to get a different.
Totally. But I guess that I'm saying this in response to the fact that you said that they're not airing any of the January 6th stuff or any of the coverage of the
I think Fox News might have finally like aired something about it. But it, like I said, they have the ability to have their little commentators pop on there and give their opinion and their spin on it.
Yeah.
People were visiting the Capitol that day.
Right.
They were just part of a tour group.
They were visiting the Capitol. It's the social dilemma. That's all I'm going to say.
They're like, this is the part of the tour where you break windows and go inside.
This is the part of the tour where you try to kill people. Oh
this is the part of the tour where you threaten a security guard and end up pissing him up the stairs.
Oh my God. It's it's hilarious to me. Like, it's literally laughable that they would call it that. It's total gaslighting. Even though, again, like I use my parents as like the barometer of conservatism because they really are conservative, white people that they're Catholic. They follow the rules. They are to what they believe is the truth. And even they are like, he sucks. Like they are. So I'm like, if you're beyond them in your beliefs, I can't, I don't even know what to do. Like I said, lose my number because I just, there's no room for it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and it's just a sad situation. And I'm kind of like you, where my viewpoints, settle fairly center, I'm a reasonable human.
Yeah.
But at this point, and I'm not registered under any political affiliation,
right.
And I feel that's necessary, like as a journalist.
Yeah.
But lately I'm having a hard time keeping my mouth shut.
I know.
When it comes to some of the things that are happening, because it's just, it blows my mind. And I'm like, if I'm going to be judged for like not being racist and not being homophobic, whatever. Okay.
Right. I know. That's how I feel.
You want to take a little ad break real quick?
Yeah, let's do it. Should we tell the audience that we've now moved to an iHeart platform?
We have. We moved to Spreaker. So you guys will be hearing some advertisements, which you can choose to listen to or not. We'll just put it that way. But it's definitely helping to elevate us and get our message out there and help more people. So that's what we care about. And we're happy that they asked us to come along.
Yes. So enjoy this and we'll be right back. So what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about the topic of friendship, which we brought up several episodes ago that we wanted to address. And here we are today.
Yes.
And you and I have both kind of encountered this in our relationships, in that when you meet someone, you're coming into the relationship, and so are they, with a base of friends.
Yeah, a rich history of friends. If you're 40, a rich history of friendships.
Like, you want your partner to like these friends.
Yep.
And you want them to like your partner.
Yep.
But at the same time, you want to protect those friends.
Totally.
Right?
From your crazy partner.
From your crazy partner.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, no one's crazy here, but
I'm kidding.
You
get very sensitive. Listen, let me just call out the elephant in the room. Why are you so sensitive about your crazy ex?
Because I don't want angry emails coming at me. Because I don't think anyone's crazy by any means. Mm-hmm. Everyone's cool. I'm good.
Okay.
But I have found, like, dating being kind of protective over my friend group.
Right.
And like, there's just certain people where it's like, these are my people. But also it's like, you want to be able to spend time alone with those people without your partner around.
Okay.
And like,
did you feel that initially? Like, I will say, like, when I first got together with my partner, we didn't want to do we're still kind of that way, but we didn't want to do anything apart. So it was like we were dragging each other to everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, that's definitely like what Marina and I have been doing. And like, it's kind of gotten to the point where, like, okay, we've been together for almost 9 months. Like, yeah, it's time
to start to do our own things
on our own. And that's fine. And it feels fine to me,
Not threatening at all.
No, not at all. Like,
is there anyone she's brings to the table that you're just kind of like, not my favorite, but whatever?
No, honestly, like, everybody that she's introduced me to, I've thought it's been like a really awesome person.
Okay.
And we all, like, I've gotten along with everybody.
That's good.
So yeah.
Any of yours that she's just kind of like, take it or leave it?
Yeah, I mean, there was a friend that kind of said some controversial things, I guess you could say. And she was like, I'm not a fan. And I was like, I get it, but this is not someone that I see very often,
right?
And so we just kind of left it at that. It's not someone that we're going to be like, going to dinner with once a month or anything like that. So,
right.
And that's perfectly fine that she like felt that way. And this is someone that I've known for a very long time. So
yeah, I think that's fine and healthy. Like, we, at the beginning, we did everything, like I said, but then it was like, as time wore on, we were kind of like, maybe one night a week we leave to, you do your thing, I'll do mine. But the issue becomes that now we're all friends. So it's like weird if one person, like, we have a group of who's a great example is Ari, who we had on our show. That was originally Maria's friend, but Maria barely knew her. And so it would kind of be strange now if Maria was like, oh, I'm going to go have dinner with Ari. Because it would be like, I totally trust her. I trust Ari. I don't have any feelings around that. But it would be like, wait, why am I not going? Like, that's, like, you get to this place where it's like, I don't know where the line is. And I have friendships that I want to keep the integrity. You know, there's sometimes friends that just want to, I'm sure, talk to me about things going on in their life. And it's a lot easier if it's just us. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you have to, I don't know, it's a tightrope you walk, right?
Right. Yeah, and I think when you're like, it's a little different when it's a friend that you've had prior to the relationship,
right?
Versus someone who like is brought in when, like, even though, you know, Marie's the one that met Ari, but you guys are getting to know Ari together.
Yes.
You know, so I can see that might feel a little weird if it was like you weren't invited to go, but at the same time, it's nice to like still have your own friends.
Totally. And I guess I feel like too, I don't know, when you're divorced, you don't have that many free nights. So it's also like Maria and I run into the thing where it's like we don't, you know, have that many just nights that we could go, I could go have dinner with a friend. I mean, it might happen once a month that I would have a night that I literally, we have nothing going on. We don't have the kids. And so, you know, maybe I would go have dinner with like a Jamie. That happens sometimes. And Maria,
but like, are you leaving Maria at home? Like,
yeah, or I might just tell her, you know, she could make plans with her friend. It just doesn't happen that often with us. But sometimes I think it probably would be really healthy.
Well, and it kind of like came up for me the other week. Like, so happened that Marina had to work late, and so I reached out to Christine, who we also had on the show, and was like, "Hey, are you busy? Like, I want to go grab dinner." And she was like, "Sure, yeah, absolutely." And I told Marina about it. Marina's fine. Like, and then I also told Marina too. I'm like, when you get home, if you want to come meet us, you're welcome to. You know, and I think that's like the healthy way to do it.
Right.
You know, that way, like, you're not leaving someone out. They're not sitting at home alone. And they're welcome to join if they can.
What about also couple friends? Like, we have some couple friends. We, by and large, love our couple friends, but we have a few that it's like Maria might say, like, they're not my favorite. Like, I don't leave the experience like better than I showed up. And I don't know, like, it's not my favorite. And then it's kind of like, or vice versa. It does, like, do you ever have that where it's just like you guys don't have that many free nights and now you've got this opportunity to go out with another couple and maybe one of you isn't jiving?
We haven't encountered that yet, but it definitely does feel like our time is limited.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's hard, and it's hard to carve out that time, because there's like some new couples that we met recently, or I guess she might have known. Yeah, she knew one already, but they invited us to go out one day, and like, I'm looking at my calendar, asking Marina, and it's like going to be weeks from now that we can even make it work. And it's kind of like, well, wait, we've been invited. Like, we've got, like, these are new people. Like, we need to make it work.
Right.
You know, but at the same time, it's just like, it's life, you know, it's hard to carve out that time. And yeah, you kind of want to save it for those people that like you do have like a truly like established relationship with.
Yeah. I think Maria says that a lot too. Like, there's not really room, you know, if we've got this extra night, we want to go out with couples that we love, cherish, that are in our circle. You know, why are we adding all these new people that, I don't know, like, that, not to say that, but it's like, there truly isn't that many nights we can do it. We're finding that we love going out with our straight couple friends. Like, oddly, like, it's crazy. Like, I don't know what's changed. I don't know if it's that I'm more established now as this gay woman. I've got my gay friends. So it's like, I don't feel the need to have every social event be with gay people anymore.
But do you ever feel like in those situations you have to kind of like tone it down a little bit, like as far as like affection goes?
I don't, but I don't know if I'm trying to think. The two that we hang with the most are both super gay friendly, really fun, smart, like great conversationalist people. So I don't feel that way. I feel like we get to go to a great dinner and have a great conversation and go home. I don't know. That could just be us. And it could be too that it's like when you get, like, at the beginning, I wanted to be with gay people all the time. Like, I remember, like, even when we had that party at when I first moved out, and it was like this room full of gay women, and I remember thinking, like, this is the fucking dream. And you were there, and, like, I loved it. And then it was like, I don't know, as I've gotten more established, I guess I'm feeling like I don't feel that need as much. I don't need to go to a gay bar. I'm happy to go to a great restaurant with whoever is great with, like, I enjoy the conversation a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think it's good to mix it up, you know,
Yeah.
like my best friend is straight,
Yeah.
married to a man, and like we hang out pretty often, go to dinner
That's what
and
I
stuff
mean.
like that.
Right.
And yeah, that's still like one of my favorite people to hang out with, for
Yeah.
sure.
I would think
And
that's how I
it's
feel.
nice too to see that like she wants to be around Marina. Like she
Yeah.
really enjoys it. So,
Right.
and that same friend, it's my best friend Tamara. She actually came to the Pride Bingo with me, which
Yeah.
I thought was awesome.
Right.
You know?
So I think, yeah, socially, like, you fill those voids with what elevates you and makes you feel good. And then I think it's also like creating boundaries around women. I don't know, like, in some ways too, you don't want to jeopardize what you're in or like make your partner feel threatened. And I think sometimes when you're out as a lesbian and there's, you know, the conversations are more intimate, it's not like the natural buffer you have with a man.
Right.
If I'm hanging out with you and Tom, I'm not having a really deep conversation with Tom. I'm just not.
Absolutely.
Versus with Marina, I might. And it could look different. So it's like you put yourself in these situations, and then I hate to call out the elephant in the room, but when I look at the lesbian couples that are together now, they started out in other couples with other people, and now they're with these new couples that are old friends of theirs.
Yeah.
So it's like essentially, like, you can't deny that happens.
Right. And I guess that's kind of like where it feels threatening.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen.
Right.
But I think the best thing you can do is just like reassure your person that that's like not where your head's at with that friendship.
Never. And
you know?
it isn't where your head's at with that friendship. But I just think that, like, it does happen in the hetero world too, but there is, like, in these social situations, a much different buffer already in place versus women. Like, you go out, you're having this great conversation, and maybe, you know, I don't know. I've even heard women say, like, if I wasn't in this relationship, I would be pursuing this woman.
I think though too, like in the defense of some of those couples, it's not like they got together like while they were with it's not like infidelity happened in those situations. It's that they got out of those relationships and they realized like, oh, hey, this is like this person right in front of me is really awesome.
Totally. Like if I meet people, it's kind of like what Alyssa said. She's like, when I go into these environments, and she was, you know, having to go out to music shows in her career and be out. She's like, there's just like a shutdown to me I'm completely disinterested in anything beyond a platonic conversation.
I mean, and that's interesting. Like, that's how I was in my marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, how I am now, like in my relationship with Marina, like when I go out, I'm not looking for anyone. When I was married, I was not looking for anyone.
No.
And I think, you know, when you are happy and you are with someone that you want to be with, you're not browsing.
You're not browsing. No. And I think you can tell, though, women that are safe in that way and women that aren't. The same with men. I mean, it's no different.
Yeah.
But it's like I've been in groups of women where I'm like, I don't trust her. And then sometimes I'm right.
Yeah.
Like something will happen that then I'm like, or you'll tell me later, like, oh my God, yeah, I didn't tell you. This ended up happening with them. And I'm like, well, yeah, I fucking called it 6 months ago.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I don't know. Like, I think if you're in a relationship or, you know, it's cool to have boundaries, especially with your friends, because you don't want to end up doing something that then is regretful later because you're embarrassed. Number one, it's like, why did I fucking do that?
Well, and yeah, those boundaries, I think, are just really important if you want to keep your relationship intact.
Yeah. And maybe even if you're single, but you've got this group of friends, you know, is that something that you're willing to entertain? You know, if I was single, would I be willing to mess around with some of my friends? I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, no.
It just wouldn't be worth it to me.
And I think that's it too. It's like, I know that like, if there was someone within Marina's friend group that she had been interested in, that would have already happened. She wouldn't have been trying to date, other people.
Yeah.
And same goes for me. If I was interested in someone in my friend group, then I would have not been out trying to date.
But what if while they were in a relationship, maybe when you might have been interested, now they're not?
Then that's just not how the stars aligned.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah. I think that's the way you have to see it. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's not the way
you'll drive yourself crazy.
Well, that, but also, I mean, it's kind of like there's so many things in life that just make so much more sense after time has passed.
Yeah, it's true.
And, there's certain things where it's just like, oh, well, that's why, so-and-so didn't work out or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's really like important too, to like, just kind of like keep in mind all the time with so many aspects of your life, especially like with coming out, like maybe things are challenging at this time.
Yeah.
And they're meant to be challenging.
Right.
And you'll see why later on. You'll see why maybe there's a roadblock right now.
Right. I do think about that for sure with my catalyst. Like, I think it was exactly what it needed to be for so many reasons now that it's like I needed that. I needed that jarring situation. But then there's other things that relationship left me with that I wish I didn't carry with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the distrust and the, I have a little anxiety now that I don't remember ever having.
Absolutely.
Worries.
And that, yeah, that's like a good point because, you can look back and be like, well, I'm glad that happened now. I'm glad I had that tough relationship. But yeah, there's baggage that you carry with it.
But then I put on my own partner,
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm reading this book right now that's about perceptions. And who recommended it is Kelly, who came on our show. But it's about it's more about like living in the present and the moment. But it's also about like your perception of what's happening is very often not reality. So the things that cause you anxiety are these perceptions that you have for whatever reason. And so I think my catalyst has given me an overlay of stress in many ways that maybe I wouldn't have those perceptions if I hadn't have been with her. I would be more free to just not worry.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I feel that too. I think I've said this on the podcast. Like, I literally have to tell people that I've dated, like, please don't tell me to have a good day. And they're like, what? And I'm like, telling me to have a good day is one of the ultimate triggers in my life. Like, I will think that you are so mad at me and you are not going to speak to me for the rest of the day.
Or just like, how passive aggressive are you? Have a great fucking day with your family.
Well, it wouldn't even say that. It would just be like, have a great day. And at first, I remember the first time that I like got that, I was like, oh, that's really sweet. Like, she wants me to have a good day. So it was like hours later, and I'm like, why haven't I heard anything from her?
Yeah.
And then like, why am I now getting like very tense responses?
I want to do our next episode about that, because that is the PTSD that comes, because I remember that vividly. I mean, it would be like if she knew she wasn't going to see me, it would be like, enjoy your family. And it was like this nasty, like, partying. Exactly. And I'd be like, oh, I will. At the beginning, yeah, great. And then it was like, wait, what?
Thanks. Yeah. It's like, it's mind fuck.
It's a total mind fuck. I know exactly what you mean. I have 1,000 of those. Right. And it's just like, I wonder sometimes who I would be in this relationship. Like, I have like this thing where, like, if I think that she's mad or triggered about something, it's like I have to fix it, or I have to get to the bottom of it. I can't just let it ride.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from that, because I never had that feeling before. I was never like that.
It sits with you for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I would be on eggshells. Like, do you remember the feeling of like being out and maybe you knew your catalyst was going to like run into a group of your friends and being worried about how she would act or how she would be to you or wreck my night, or like I have so many memories of different places around Atlanta that I was literally sitting. Maybe that's why I hate gay bars.
Maybe,
I have
because yeah, I mean,
PTSD.
I have a story of my birthday where something was said to my girlfriend at the time, and it ruined
Your
my
entire
night.
birthday. Yeah.
Yeah, like I was literally sitting there crying.
Yeah. And it's like, can you imagine that now?
No, oh
No. But it's no one's fault. It's just like so
no,
messed
it's just
up.
this. Yeah, and it's again, it's the circumstances of those situations.
It's also
It's hard for both people to
it's hard
be in
for
that
both
kind of like.
people. It's also you were back then different. So it's like you're also not weaker. Weaker's the wrong word, but it's like you were like this little ill-prepared like fawn
I
in the
was like a little
woods.
baby kitten, like
Yeah, exactly.
just like
Trying-
what are we doing now?
know.
You know?
And then they're just like batting you down. Have you seen Swingers? I'm envisioning that scene from Swingers. Where, I forget what he's talking about, but it's like a little bunny that's just being like batted around. That's how I felt. And I would know like if she was drinking, like it would just that like would escalate whatever mood she was in, whether it would be like she's totally psyched with me or horrified with me. Like it was just like I knew. And if we were in a group of people, I had stress because I knew that the night would end with some horrific argument that I didn't even understand why it was happening.
Right.
Because I never do that. Like I'm good at like if you take me to an event or if I would go to her like work events. I am on fantastic behavior. You can bring me anywhere. I'm literally going to make great conversation with these people. I'm going to remember who they are. Like she never did that for me ever.
Yeah.
And it's like, I need that in a partner.
Can I plays well with others. That's
Plays
it.
well with others. Exactly. It's crazy, right?
Well, maybe we should hit on this for another episode.
Yeah, let's do it. The Catalyst, the
Tales
PTSD.
of the Catalyst.
Tales of the Catalyst and PTSD.
What's that show on HBO where it's like Tales of the Crypt Keeper or something?
Yeah, Tales from the Crypt. This will be Tales
from
from
the
the
Crypt.
Catalyst. Tales from the Catalyst. All right, my friend. Well, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Want to support the Lesbian Chronicles podcast? Rate us and write a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
We love listener feedback. If you'd like to share your story, email us at melissaandallie@gmail.com. That's Melissa, MELISA, and Allie, ALLI, @gmail.com. Or follow us on Instagram at Lesbian Chronicles.